And we are back. Welcome back to the Nick Hall Comedy Podcast. I am your host, Nick Hall, joined as always by
Josh Griffey.
If you are listening on Apple Podcast or wherever you get your podcast, go ahead and throw us a rating and review. That helps us out a ton, and we appreciate it. If you want to get some sweet Coach Kent Murphy gear, including these Trash Joe shirts that we're wearing, for those of you watching on YouTube or Facebook or wherever we put this thing, just go to CoachKentMurphy.com /shop, and if you want to follow us on any social media, it's always at it's always at Coach Kent Murphy. At Coach Kent Murphy, even though I can't speak, and it's certainly none of those fake assholes that try to steal our clout.
That's true.
Why are they trying to steal our clout, man?
Why are you stealing our clout, bro? I know your voice is probably tired. We've recorded so many 2020 MLB team previews. We hope you guys have been enjoying those.
Oh, we've been having fun with them, man.
It is a monumental task when you're like, yeah, we'll preview all 30 teams and do every roster. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, that's a lot of jokes.
It's like when I came up with the idea, I was like, hey, man, I know quite a bit about baseball. I watch like 100 games every year, and I go to a bunch of games, and I was like, this is going to be easy. Yeah. And then when you realize you have to write like 15 to 20 jokes for 30 teams. Yeah. It becomes a challenge.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden,
when half the league bats 230 and strikes out 180 times, like it's you got to come up with some jokes. So we threw in some Scooby-Doo shit today, and
we had all
kinds of weird stuff. So
you think you know baseball, and then all of a sudden you find yourself Googling who the fuck plays for the Rangers. You know what I mean? You're just like, you forget that in MLB, especially, like even those of us that watch a lot of baseball, and are in, there's so much unwatchable baseball.
Yeah, well,
and that's the thing. There's so many games. Like you forget how much you don't know.
There's just, it's a lot of games. But, I was thinking today actually, like, because I've caught a couple of spring training games on TV. But it's like spring training baseball is fun as hell to watch. Yeah, on TV because they got all the players mic'd up. Yeah. Like Anthony Rizzo went to the plate, right?
Amazing.
And that was one of my favorite clips. He was just like, I'm doing calculations in my head trying to figure out what's coming next. And they're like, what do you got? And he's like, I got nothing. Yeah. He goes, I'm guessing fastball because I haven't seen him throw one to me yet today. Right. And then he rips a single into the gap. And he's like rounding first. He's like, I'm going to get second. Nope. Yeah. He's just like back. But like, that's fucking fun to watch.
That's
that was
fun.
Cool. And then
didn't he make the Astros joke? Right?
Yeah.
Where he was like, hey, can somebody
hit a trash can. But then and then you had like Trevor Bauer. Yeah. Who for one batter, he just told him every pitch that he was throwing to show the difference that it makes when you know what's coming versus not coming. And it's just like, I don't know, that shit's cool.
It's amazing.
It's fun to watch. It's like the XFL.
Yeah.
In spring training. I'm having a good time with it.
It's what we've been talking about, which is got like we were saying, like doing these jokes. You forget how many players in baseball you don't know. Yeah. And so if you're lucky enough to have a guy like Rizzo who's naturally fun to listen to, he's a good stop doing the like dugout interview, right? With the old man in his pajamas who's like, well, I want to win the game. This is how we played in 1940. Forget that interview.
Yeah, it's boring.
Give me the player. I mean, there's so much downtime in baseball where instead of just listening to an old guy opine like he's a Ken Burns documentary, let these guys fucking shine.
That formula would work if every coach were Greg Popovich.
Right.
He's like the only one that gives good sound bites in those instances. Right. He's my favorite one of all time is when there was a game and it was the halftime interview, like when he's going into the tunnel. And this is a few years ago, and Patty Mills had like 20 points in the first half. Right. And they were like, well, Patty's playing really well this year. Like, why didn't he get many minutes last year? And Popovich goes, because he was a little fat ass. And then just walks to the tunnel. I'm just like, if everybody did that, I'm in. I'm bought in.
Everyone had something to add.
He's one out of 300 coaches in major sports that does that.
But I think we need to get past this thing where sports, they all play it safe, right? Where it's like, we're this big entity. Don't say something that embarrasses the Cubs, right? And it's like, God forbid you let your players say something that might interest someone to watch the Cubs. That's right. They have to realize we're in a world of social media and instant gratification now. And these guys just being persona non grata, that doesn't work anymore.
It starts with their biggest thing that they always talk about is their question to themselves is, how do we get kids more involved? Yeah. How do we get the youth more involved so that they're playing the game, they're watching the game, and then that structure remains throughout the rest of their life that they're ingrained in baseball.
We're fans, yeah.
Right. But then they turn around and they only market to 70-year-old white guys. You know what I mean? So they're answering their own question with the worst answer possible.
Yeah.
Basically.
How do we get the flip phone
they're asking the right question. They're just, back to the drawing board on the answer.
Yeah. F- on that. But this is something like we saw it this year in the All-Star game. I know we talked about it. The All-Star team selection for the NBA became a wildly fun product on its own. Because you don't want to just know, here's the best 15 guys, right? We all know who the best 15 guys are.
Right.
But watching Giannis not pick James Harden because he says he doesn't pass, that became a storyline, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
And they're racing for an MVP, so that becomes more dramatic.
Yeah.
And now you have Harden coming out and taking shots at Giannis, providing more interesting stuff to watch.
Yep.
When, a lot of people don't want to watch a lot of this, like, kind of middle of, right after the All-Star break, NBA is like,
Right.
But this becomes fun. So now if there's a game where Giannis and Harden are going to play, which I think is just happened or is about to, that becomes great TV now, all because you put a microphone in a player's hand.
Well, yeah. Well, the halftime show on TNT for the NBA is more exciting than any piece of content the MLB pushes out.
For sure.
At all.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's a game, a post-game, a pre-game, in-game. It's leaps and bounds ahead of anything that the MLB pushes out.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And also, Shaq grew his hairline out, which was maybe the funniest picture I've ever seen. But yeah, like
just Shaq doing that is more interesting than anything Frank Thomas has ever added to because the MLB has the knockoff version now, right? It's just guys you don't really want to hear. Like, I don't want to see A-Rod's big fake white teeth.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I get it. You're a cheater. You're not funny. I know people think he's charismatic now, but you're like, he doesn't have that same thing that Shaq and Barkley have, right?
Right.
And then they've got Big Papi, who's trying to be like a Barkley. Sometimes they're trying so hard to rip it off, but they don't have that core feeling of what TNT is, which is unrestrained.
Here's the problem. Here, in my opinion, or the difference, I guess. So if you watch that halftime show, or let's start with baseball. Mm-hmm. You watch these baseball shows, right? And I love baseball. I'm not trashing, but I fucking love baseball. It's my favorite thing in the world.
We say this because we want baseball to be better.
Yeah, but you watch the baseball stuff, and all these guys talk. They're like, well, on pitches inside in night games, like, he hits 320. What he needs to do is open up his stance, and and like all this technical jargon and shit. Mm-hmm. That like, I get it, and some hardcore fans will get it, but the casual observer doesn't give a shit. About that. Whereas, like, on that halftime show with TNT, with, like, the NBA, Charles and those guys, they all played.
Yeah.
They could sit there and they could talk your ear off all day about feeding the post and running the pick and roll and coming through ball screens. Mm-hmm. They could do that all day.
Yeah.
And they'll talk about that kind of stuff for 20 seconds of their show, and the rest of it is them riffing on the players or the game or making a joke or just keeping it light and keeping it interesting to watch for the person that doesn't know about high ball screens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, the best thing that I've seen on that TNT, because I actually just follow social media accounts dedicated to the halftime show at the NBA.
Right.
And, like, they just had a break in a show where Charles Barkley revealed that the really nice bracelet he was wearing, he got from another guy in a steam room.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you just hear Shaq, like, dying, and they're like, stop everything. We don't really care.
Was it the guy that wipes down the loads?
Yeah, right. We're not talking about the 3-point shooting percentages. We're talking right now about Barkley thinking that this is just something you can say out loud and not get called on.
Right.
And that's because this is the thing. There was a piece on MLB TV I saw that was so fascinating. Right. They had Pete Rose on.
Right.
And they had like this weird cutaway, and I don't know if they aired it or if it was just extra and then they put it out because it was so good. But it was just him and Frank Thomas, and I can't remember who else. And he was talking about, hey, man, this is what I did when I was in a slump. And, like, move your bat.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that.
It's so captivating.
Yeah.
And to your point, it's
fascinating.
It's not just a guy telling me how to hit a ball, considering I'll never be in a position where I'm in a batting slump.
Yeah.
But what it is
I'm in a batting slump right now, for the rest of my life.
Yeah, right? Like, I'm not going to hang in. I don't care. Maybe I'll play slow pitch softball, whatever. Right. But what it was you're actually getting an insight into the mind of a baseball player and the quirkiness and the inventiveness, right? The superstition. So you're learning so much about Pete Rose in this moment that it becomes infinitely fascinating, right? Whereas I don't want to hear, John Smoltz say, well, he's got to use his fastball. Well, no shit, John.
Shit, yeah.
Like that's what all pitchers have to
and
do.
That's and I'm not bashing that as a whole, because there is value in like them talking about this stuff for sure, because it does educate some of the casual fans and even more so some of the hardcore fans.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely value in that, but you can't just have a half an hour of that.
No.
It's just not interesting enough. Like back to the Shaq thing, growing his hairline out. Like that was on every fucking blog this morning.
Everywhere.
Every blog.
Yeah.
You'll never see on a blog like A-Rod explains, like 3-2 pitches in a night game in Texas. You know what I mean? Like it's just not nobody cares. It's throwaway material. Versus like that Shaq stuff is gonna live until the next cycle comes out tomorrow. But at least till then, like it'll give people like, oh shit, I gotta watch this show. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And you could make the argument that MLB just doesn't have a star like Shaq, which is true.
Yeah, maybe.
But that's the MLB's fucking fault.
But they might. But they muzzle him so much.
That's what I mean.
You'll never know.
Baseball has to get to this playing. Like what's it? And Tim
if you're
Anderson
not
with the White Sox,
if you're not talking about baseball as if it's the holy grail and the most sacred thing in the world and this beautiful piece of art, then they don't want to hear it.
Which, by the way, now is all out the window.
And it's but that shit's boring.
It is.
I love that shit. Like I enjoy the nuances of the game and the history of the game. I really do.
Yeah.
But I don't want to hear somebody talk about it for a half an hour.
Well, also at our age, you've been watching that same show for 30 years. You're like, I get it.
Yeah.
Like enough. But that's why, like the Tim Anderson guy from the White Sox, right? He's all about bat flips and stirring trouble.
Love it.
We need more of him and less of Brian McCann. You know what I mean? That's like, this is a great example, right? For my movie podcast, Film Alchemist, I had to watch Crimson Tide, right?
Yeah.
Awesome movie. Somehow I'd never seen it. Denzel and Gene Hackman.
It's a good one.
What makes that movie awesome, right? Because this is the problem with movies like that to me and why I didn't see it earlier, right? Is you're like, that movie to me feels like it's going to be boring, right? Because at the end of the movie, I know every scene that's coming before it happens. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming the end of the movie ends with Denzel winning and the world not being blown up by nuclear warheads, right?
Sure.
So where's the
fair
fun
assumption,
in that, right?
Yeah.
The fun doesn't come from, I don't know what's coming next. The fun is, how do you use those moments to give these characters chances to, show who they are?
Yeah.
And that's what baseball needs to do, right? If you're telling me about this is what it's like to not be or to be on an 0-40 streak, give me the humanizing thing, right?
Right.
Like, don't just tell me, who has the worst batting averages on Tuesdays in November.
Right.
What does that tell me about being a professional human who plays ball?
Well, yeah, and to your point that you just made about Crimson Tide.
Yeah.
To give you a reference, more current, like, that you might have seen, which if you haven't seen Crimson Tide, I recommend watch. But like Superbad, right?
Yeah.
Is a movie about two kids in high school that go to a party and they become better friends.
Yeah.
Boring.
Yeah.
But
you know
give them,
every beat of that
you
movie.
give them the most hilarious shit to do and say throughout it, and it's a fucking classic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's to your point.
Yeah.
You've got to let these guys break out of. You got to let them shine.
Mike
Trout might be the funniest guy in the world, but we'll never know.
I
doubt it, but I'm just saying. But we would never know. Like, he might be one of the smoothest, coolest guy, but they don't give him. They don't give him that platform. Maybe he doesn't want it. I don't know. I
saw that video of him at TopGolf, and he was so ecstatic to be at TopGolf.
But
it
he was
tells
having
me
fun.
a lot about his personality.
But that was one of the best pieces of content baseball's put out in years. Yeah. It got circulated. It was Mike Trout having fun with his friends, like outside of baseball. No talk of anything. But that's like it's sad to say, but they need more content like that.
Right. Well, my two-pronged response to that is...
That's the most press outside of baseball Mike Trout's ever gotten from the MLB.
Him swinging a golf club has gotten more attention than him ever swinging a baseball
being the best player in the league.
Yeah, so that's a problem.
No, that is. But
secondary problem is if you are really stoked to be at TopGolf, that is a red flag to your boring. It's like my theory. You can't be a 10 if you like country music.
Yeah.
You can't be a wildly exciting person if you think TopGolf is fun.
Man, I've had some good times at TopGolf. I'm not going to lie.
I've been to TopGolf, and I drink at TopGolf. But if you think that's like a really fun place to hang out.
It's fun if like...
You have a ceiling on the coolness of yourself.
I like
and your
to just go and everybody's playing like the games. Or like, you got to hit it in the green zone. And not me. I just pull the fucking driver out and I just start crushing.
Well,
as hard as I can.
That's what my brother
I try
does.
to hit the golf, like the cart that picks up the balls. Like that's what me and Chucky, like Miller, we've been a couple times, and we just play a game where we try to hit the golf cart guy.
Well, I'm all for going somewhere and just having like a different place to drink.
Well,
like
sure.
I'm fine with that.
Plus, it's like the only physical activity you or I ever get.
Yeah,
so.
that's true. I mean, it's like you can kind of embarrass your friends, but like if you're there and you're like there are guys that show up. And again, I'm not saying I've never been to a TopGolf, but again, I'm not saying I'm like a Noam Chomsky of interesting things, right? Like I'm just a guy.
I don't go to TopGolf once a week, but every couple of months if somebody's like, "Hey, let's go to TopGolf," I'm like, "I'll go."
4 times in my life.
I'll go do something
Once
different.
was a bachelor party, so I'll watch that because I was so hungover, I just was crushing mimosas and not swinging golf clubs. I thought I would die. But have you ever been and there's like this guy and it's like he's dressed like he's cosplaying Tiger Woods. He brings his own clubs.
Well, he's got a white
He's
belt.
got the fucking gloves.
Yeah, he's got his white
and
belt.
every hit he's like, ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. And it's like, hey man, if you were actually good, you would be playing real golf. You know what I mean? Like
people that play golf casually are which is most of my friends. Yeah. Just annoy me anyway. Like it's just this like people like especially in Indiana, so like in the winter, like it'll be 50 degrees one day.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, "You want to go play golf?" I'm like, "No,
no,
it's cold as shit, and we all suck at it."
Yeah,
like that is how is that fun?
You want to go slosh around in the mud to find your ball?
You want to go walk around for 3 hours and suck at something and be cold? Just sign me up. Like and they're like, and they actually spend time. They're like, "I got to work on my golf game." Like, why?
Yeah, why?
Why?
Are you?
Spend time with your wife.
That's what I would say to your friends next time. Is be like, yeah, I also have to work on my rear naked chokes in case Dana White calls me. You know what? Like, get the fuck out of here. What are you thinking? Like, you're fucking. But these guys, it's like there's this guy, right? And it's a guy that I despise on so many levels, right? The guy at like the pickup game at LA Fitness who's like, like slapping the floor.
Into it.
Every ball's like, foul, there's the red mark.
The guy playing defense.
Yeah. The guy who's like, box him, switch, pick. You're like, dude, come the fuck on. Like, we're all here to try, and you don't want to get run off the court.
Yeah.
But if you're putting that much effort in, like, come on, fuck you. Like, get real. Yeah. It's like the guy who shows up at softball, and he's like, yeah, I had 3 home runs in my game last night. And it's like, cool. Do you want me to not blow you like every chick who
how fast was he throwing it? Oh, 7? Yeah. Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, you hit the giant yellow ball with the NASA spaceship bat out of the park when it was thrown really slow underhand you? Super cool, man. I'm rock hard from hearing those stat lines. But, like, there's these guys, right? And it's the guy who's like, I will find something that is so not made to be dominated and ruined by dickheads.
Yeah.
And I will be that fucking dickhead.
Right.
And it's just something that fucking infuriates me when I see it to know it.
I love competing. I love playing sport. Like I love playing softball and stuff like that. It's just I refuse to let anything that I'm not making a living doing piss me off.
Right.
You know? Like, I'm not going to be like, go over 2 in a softball game and be like, oh, man.
Yeah.
I can't come out with the guys tonight, man. I got to get the cages and get my mind right.
Yeah, right.
We play again next Monday. You know what I mean?
Like, right. And I'll say this, as the guy who used to go to the batting cages before games, that was just a reason for me to leave an extra hour and a half early. Yeah. Like, I just wanted to go and, like, have the guys' time, right? Like, that's the thing. Getting competitive in game, right?
Yeah.
Like you'll play a game and you're like, we really want to win.
For sure. I want to win anytime I get onto any kind of field or court.
That's not the guy I'm talking about. Like, that is not the guy I'm talking
punch
about.
Your grandma win. Like that's how I want to win. But but I'm also not going to like live and die by it.
Right. Well, everyone knows this guy on softball who comes back in, he has a bad night and he's like on Amazon, like, I just need a new bat. That'll do it. And it's like, no, you're missing the entire point of all this. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
But that guy, I would say, right, if that guy was, you know, let's use an analogy, right? All of those guys put on robes and they end up, right, they're like bishops, right? They end up in Vatican City.
Yeah.
The Vatican City for annoying sports douche guy.
Yeah.
Right? Vatican City for that is TopGolf.
Yeah.
Right? They all end up there inevitably, right?
Yeah.
As all turds will inevitably get flushed somewhere and gather in a giant pool. That's what TopGolf is for the worst, most annoying people that think they're really cool and interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Again, I'm with you. I've been there myself. And if you're just going to drink and, like, do something. We live in Indiana, so doing something has value, right?
Yeah.
You just need to do something. But if you're, like, really, like, I have a member. I reserved my stall 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Like, if it's anything more than on a whim, just check yourself. Yeah. Look in the mirror and realize
my favorite,
you need to be better.
Yeah, my favorite softball story is I used to play on this league here in Indy, and we were short a guy one night. And so my buddy that you know, I called him up. He's a huge baseball junkie. He never really played, but he knows like a lot about the game, and he's an athlete, so he can play. So I called him, and he was like, "Fuck yeah, I'll play." So he shows up. It's like the second or third inning, and we're down like 3-0 or something like that. And the first two batters get on base, first and second. And so my buddy comes up, and he starts analyzing the game like he's in the majors, and he's like, "Okay, what do we get? We're down 3 runs here. What do I got to do?" Nobody out. So he fucking lays down a bunt. And which is an automatic out.
That's not true, right?
I swear to God.
In a slow pitch softball game.
I don't think he'd ever played before, but it's an automatic out. You can't bunt in softball. At least in the league.
You know what? That's a rule we should adopt across all stick and ball games.
Like
automatic out.
And we're all like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like yelling. Because I was trying to move the runners. He goes, that puts a tying run at the plate with 2 runners in scoring position. I was like, dude, have a beer.
Yeah.
Sit down.
Jesus H. Christ.
And watch this. And then the next 5 guys go up and just try to crush. And it's like, that's your only goal.
Yeah.
Is to try to crush it as far as you can. If it doesn't go out, just get as many bases as you can. You're good. Nobody gives a shit about moving the runners.
Yeah. You don't go to the bar and be like, "Yeah, guys, I was 4 for 5 with 4 singles." And everyone at the bar's like, "Get this fucking man a shot on my tab." Like, no one can.
My average is suffering, but my OBP is way up. Way up.
It's so funny. The team I used to play on, and you filled in a couple times, the Spoilers, we actually had, like, an advanced metrics, like, spreadsheet.
Oh, yeah.
And guys would get, like, really into it at a point, and it got to that thing where you're like, wow, we're, like, really into this spreadsheet. And really not winning championships, like you had to like take a step back and be like, "All right, fuck it, man, we're here to drink." Like,
that was a fun team, though, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that team was fun too because they're all just screenwriter guys. So we would like, play softball and then go to the bar and just like yell at each other about movies.
Barney's.
Yeah, and you're like, that's what softball's supposed to be. Yeah. I think we all get swept up in it, but I think those of us that aren't TopGolf customers,
we would go to Barney's.
Realize to back it up.
We go to Barney's Beanery after the game.
Yeah.
And you would sing fucking Meatloaf karaoke.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Paradise by the Dashboard Lights.
Which, by the way, is 9.5 minutes with a 1.5 like guitar solo.
It is.
And you need to pull a lady on stage to sing it with you. It's secretly the smoothest pimping
you did.
You
did. Like every time you had a girl up, like you would pull a girl up singing with you.
Yeah.
It was pretty impressive. But that song is 9.5 minutes.
Yeah, it's really long.
Which is 9 minutes too long. That song, like, by far. That's actually short for a Meatloaf song, though.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I am kind of the patron saint defender of bands that you fucking hate.
Yeah.
Right? Like I love Kiss, I love Rush, I love Meatloaf, and they all have these like kind of long absurd songs, and you're like hatred for it. When I even start to, like, we're about to road trip tomorrow. If you think we're not listening to Hemispheres, you're crazy.
No.
Right? My car is like the van in that movie Fanboys, where he gets in and Dan Fogler has all the cassettes, and he's like, "What the fuck? Every tape is Rush. How about a little variety?" And he's, "Rush is variety!" Right? Like, that's the life I lead.
No, it's not.
It was funny because I played, my kid's starting to, like, discover music.
Yeah.
Because he likes the Sonic the Hedgehog, like, soundtrack,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
They have like this pop punk song about like achieving your goals and shit. And I was like, that's cool. And I was like, here's some real music. And I played him The Trees by Rush.
Yeah.
And I could just see his face go fucking straight blank in his car seat. And I just turned around. I'm like, what? You don't like this? And he's like, can we play any other songs? And I was like, oh my God. You're
dude.
like, yeah, Nick can't come to our house anymore.
Yeah, that's
He's
my dude.
He's infecting you with Rush hatred.
That's my dude. I love that. That's like my favorite. Yeah. And now I love your kids even more, man.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. God damn.
I'm on an island
that
all
makes
by
me
myself.
Proud.
It's fine.
That makes me proud. But yeah, speaking of road trip, we're heading down to Panama City tomorrow.
Is that where we're going?
Yeah.
By the way, did you hear? I think Club La Vila shut down now.
Yeah, it is.
That is like an icon of bad decision making.
Now you can't get STDs at the foam party. It's real tragic.
You just have to get them from touching anything else in Panama City Beach.
We went down there. It was me and Chucky once, actually. We went down there. We were like 22 maybe. And out behind Club La Vila, they have a big fence, or they did. I don't know if they still do, but they have the motion lights, or not motion light, the lights that move with the camera.
Right.
It's like a fucking Metal Gear game. Well, they had this big sign out there sitting in the back. There's a giant sign, and Chucky, my buddy that plays Chucky, was like, I'm stealing that sign, and so he fucking like climbs the fence and he's timing the light so that he can make his dash, grab the sign, get back, heave it over the fence before the light and the camera make it back to him, and we're hammered, and so he hops a fence. He fucking makes the dash, gets the sign, makes it back over. And we partied on the beach all night, and he just was dragging it from beach party to beach party. and then it was in our hotel room, and we slept with it or whatever. And at the time, we drove my car down, and I had like a little Sunfire or something like that. And so the next day we had to leave or whatever. We're like packing up our stuff, and he was like, "Do you think that sign will fit on top of your car?" And I was like, I don't care if it does. We're not taking it.
Yeah, right.
And he was like, death. He's like, dude, we have to take it. I worked hard for that. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, we're not driving all the way back to Indianapolis with a fucking 400-pound sign on the top of my car. Like,
they could just fly off in Final Destination.
We're not doing it. Well, that was my last fond memory of Club La Vila.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. I had some weird times inside of Club La Vila in my life, too.
You know what was actually better than Club La Vila for weird and creepy times was the Panama City Beach Walmart. It was the first
I don't know if I've ever been.
Oh, my God. We would pull in, and I went there a couple times in college, like multiple times, which shows you I used to have really bad decision-making. But we used to pull into town, and the first thing we do is hit that Walmart.
Yeah.
And it is this perfect confluence of, like, redneck and frat trash and so many vile groups. And not like those groups on their own are vile, but the worst elements of those people congealing in this one Walmart.
A pot.
Yeah, like rushing in like it's Black Friday, ready to fist fight over natty light bricks. You know, like it was such a shit show.
A worthy fight.
And you would see people just running around. I remember once I was just like hungover one morning, and I was like, fuck, I just need to eat like 6 hot dogs. I used to have this like remedy, right? I'd have like 6 hot dogs with Kraft cheese sliced on them, ketchup, mustard, and then I would eat like 4 fucking chocolate packs, right?
Yeah.
So your fucking belly is just so full of bullshit that it just like crushes and defeats whatever like alcohol poisoning you have. And I was like, I just need that. So I like limped it over to the Walmart, walked in, and there's just a girl holding like the freezer door, just fucking puking her guts up in front of the pot pies. And I was like, it's spring break.
Yeah, dude.
It's spring break.
Yeah, dude.
You know? But it's just, yeah, man. Panama City Beach. I didn't know that's where we were going. I'm excited. I was worried it was more like a Georgia kind of like Panama or like a Panhandle, right?
Yeah.
What do they call that? The Floribama Shore.
Yeah, Floribama.
Whatever that bad TV show is.
that same trip with Chucky. We walked to our hotel was like probably about 2 or 3 miles down the strip.
Yeah.
From La Vila, and there was a Wendy's across the street, and so we went over there to have dinner at Wendy's or whatever, just like smash a couple of burgers. And we were just gonna walk to Club La Vila. Well, these kids sitting next to us at Wendy's, they were like, what are you guys doing? Like, we're gonna go to Club La Vila, and they're like, oh, we can't get in. We're only like 20, you know. And we're like, well, how are you gonna get there? And they're like, we have a truck out back. And I was like, if you give us a ride, and I pointed at Chucky, and I was like, his Uncle Frank works the door. And I was like, we'll get you in. And they're like, are you serious? I was like, yeah, totally. They're like, fine, we'll give you a ride. So they gave us a ride all the way down the strip. And we got there, it was like 30 minutes before they even opened. So it's like, hang tight, let me go talk to Frank. And they had a door guy out there, and we just went up. And all we asked him was, what time do you guys open? And then we went back to these guys' truck, and we're like, sorry, man, he said no dice. and then they just drove off, and we waited and got into the club. So we got a free ride to La Vila because Chucky's fake Uncle Frank worked the door.
Uncle Frank wipes down the loads at La Vila. It's a full time
By the way,
job.
The guy working the door, I'm pretty sure, was like our age. So.
Yeah, right? I used to be a bouncer, and it was always that, like, I couldn't imagine being a bouncer somewhere there where you're like 80% of people here are underage and just want to go, like, dry hump and nut in their pants inside the club. Like, am I going to be the guy that stands between them and their dreams?
Maybe.
For what? How much money do you think those guys actually make?
Bouncers?
Yeah.
Depends where you work, but not.
Probably
it's not a staggering amount. No.
Every place I worked as a bouncer, the pay was not great.
Yeah.
Unless you got tipped out. And I'm assuming in Club La Vila, with 95% of the orders being water or Gatorade with no tip. Probably not a great job.
There's not a tip in that place.
Hey, can I, every step you take towards that money jar that's half empty, you're just sticking to the floor. Like, great. No, but I miss being of the age where a place like Club La Vila was enticing to go to.
Well, apparently,
because actually the place we used to stay every time was the one right next door to Club La Vila. So that shit was within like 100 yards of our room. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, apparently Panama City is just a ghost town now, because they outlawed
all of it?
They outlawed drinking entirely on the beach. You can't.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they
in Florida.
Yeah, I just read this the other day. I read it actually when I read the article about Club La Vila closing. Yeah, and so like I guess nobody goes there anymore.
Well, why the fuck would you?
Yeah.
I mean, I would broaden that out. Why would you go anywhere in Florida without being able to drink, right?
Correct.
But God, Panama, because it's kind of, there's this whole stretch. Like we went on a family vacation to Alabama, and I don't know what it's called, but we like showed up at the shore, and I'm like
Gulf Shores.
Yeah, this looks exactly like Panama City Beach, but like they try a little harder to give it that like, hey, it's okay.
It's a little nicer.
Your kids won't catch HPV by going to the Chuck E. Cheese here.
Right.
But like, it's still essentially the same amount of trash. You have to embrace the drinking. Like Panama City Beach, I'm like, what is the industry that exists in that place?
Yeah.
Other than underage kids getting hammered.
Yeah.
That's fucking craziness.
I was down there one time, and
That's crazy.
We were staying in a hotel. I think I was a senior in high school when we went. And I went to this party. Some other guys that I went to high school with were having a party in another hotel. Mm-hmm. So we walk down the beach and we go to this guy's party. And in this party is my buddy Adam, who I hadn't seen since like 5th grade. Like we grew up going to grade school together, and we were like best friends. And then I moved away, and I hadn't seen him since like 5th. So I was like, holy shit, dude. It's like, it's Adam. And he's like, holy shit. And we hung out or whatever, and we got hammered. And then apparently Adam changed over the years, because then we parted ways or whatever. And I called my other buddy from where I grew up, and I was like, hey man, I ran into fucking Adam last night. I haven't seen him forever. And he goes, you ran into him last night? He's like, did you hear what happened? And I was like, no. And he goes, yeah, apparently he stole a car, and he got pulled over for drunk driving, and then they found out it was a stolen car, and then he tried to beat up the cops, and he ran, and like he was like going to prison in Florida. And I was like, Jesus Christ. I was like, he was pretty cool at the party.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, it's not surprising. He goes, he's a fucking wild man now. And
yeah.
I was like, that's weird.
Yeah. He stayed in Panama City too long, and he got infected with
I was like, I'm glad I got to see him before he, got incarcerated in Florida, I guess.
He caught a nasty case of Florida man from touching anything in Panama City Beach.
It was crazy. I was like, Jesus. I'm glad I didn't go on that beer run with him.
Yeah. You were this close to being a Florida headline, my friend. Jesus Christ.
He turned into Florida man while he was down there for spring break.
But that was the magic of Panama City Beach. We all got to be Florida man for like a week.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I don't know where they go now. Maybe they go to Daytona or Fort Lauderdale or whatever. I don't know. I don't know where the spring breakers go.
There's a shitload of money to be made for someone.
When I was in college, we went to Panama City.
Mm-hmm.
We went to South Padre Island in Texas, and we went to Lake Havasu in Arizona.
Right.
Where I got arrested.
I remember that.
Yep.
Because Monday's classes started back, and I'm like, "Where's my roommate?"
Yeah,
it's like,
we
jail.
all got me and my we all got arrested, and to make it worse, so we get arrested, we get out, we pay like our fines or whatever, and it was Mikey's. We had Mikey's like fucking it was like a 1988 Ford Explorer. Like this thing was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
The gas gauge didn't work. We drove this thing all the way from Indiana to Arizona. The gas gauge didn't work. So you just had to be like, we're probably out of fuel right now. Like, let's get gas. You know what I mean?
Let's just stop every
Hopefully
hour.
we still have enough to make it 3 more exits, because that's the first gas station. So we make it there, and then we go to jail and we get out, and we go to get the oil changed right before we leave to come home. And the guy that's changing the oil, he's like, where are you guys going? And we're like, Indianapolis. He's like, you're not going to make it in this thing. He's like, this thing's shot. He goes, the engine's running hot as hell, and I can't figure out why. He's like, the damn thing's going to explode. So we're like, what the fuck do we do now? And so I started thinking about it. I don't know shit about cars.
Zero. Yeah.
But I just go, we get back to the place we're staying at. I was like, pop the hood. And sure enough, it was out of coolant. Just bone dry.
Right.
So we went and got a bottle of coolant, filled it up, took it back to another oil change place. Guy didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Like the dude at the other place was just trying to sell us parts we didn't need. So we're like, okay, finally we're on the road. So
he truly was a mechanic who had never heard of coolant.
Yeah.
In the hottest state of all time.
So we avoid that disaster, and then we get on the road and we're going, and we're in Arizona, so it's still pretty warm. And so like I'm sitting in the front seat, and I don't know, we're a couple hundred miles out of Phoenix or whatever, and driving down the road, and I'm look at Mikey, and I'm like, hey man, and he's like, what? And I go, the window won't roll up, and he's like, what? And I was like, it won't roll up. The fucking window broke. So we had to drive all the way from New Mexico back to Indiana with a window down. It was fucking terrible. Like, by the time we got to North Texas, it was cold as fuck, and we're all just sitting in the car while it's going for like 28 hours, man. It was like fucking brutal.
Take the coolant out. We need engine heat.
Yeah, and I was like, thanks for taking your car, Mikey. Appreciate that, pal.
Like, Mikey, if I could, I would leave you and your car in jail.
Oh, dude, it was brutal. Yeah, I went home with a rap sheet, and I had to listen to a fucking open window for 28 hours, freezing our asses off.
Speaking of things that sound awful, I was getting some work done yesterday, and my wife was watching this show on Netflix I wanted to talk to you about.
Oh, God.
So I guess it's a bit of a hit, right? The show, it's called Love is Blind. Classic reality show. They dusted off the guy who used to bang Jessica Simpson for it.
Nick Lachey?
Yeah, he still has the hair gel. Don't worry.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, so they dusted him off. And the premise is a bunch of sixes with jobs and all their body parts and, like, dress clothes go into a house, right? And there's a girl pod and a man pod, right?
Sure.
Or a women and man pod, right? And they are here because they're tired of the doldrums of, social media dating, right? Like, oh, it's so hard that everyone just swipes on dating me because I'm fuckable. I'm here to get married.
Yeah.
So the theory is you can meet these other people who also want to get serious now, right? Instead of like Tinder hookups.
Right.
But you have to go in these rooms where you can't see each other. And all you can do is talk. So I'm watching this show, and I was like, God, this is fucking... And that's my new favorite thing on Netflix is they're like, here's the top 10 things people are watching. And you're yeah, you can just fucking...
They recommend me the worst shit. I'm like, how did you get that from me watching Trailer Park Boys for 38 hours?
It's unbearable.
Straight. Like,
it's unbearable. Yeah. It's the
What
Netflix
makes you
model.
think?
Yeah. It looks like something I would watch, and then I
What
start it.
makes you
and
think
hope
I
to
want to
die.
watch a documentary about babies after I just watched 7 seasons of Trailer Park Boys in a row?
Yeah. Hey, can you stop showing me Piers Morgan? It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Stop. But yeah, so she's watching it, right? And it's just these fucking... And this is what bothers me, right? Because I actually kind of get sucked in a hair. Only because I'm waiting for the It's All Gonna Fall Apart episode.
Yeah.
Which it takes way too long to get to.
Yeah.
But dude, there's this guy, and he's like, I'm a scientist. He's normal. He's like fucking tall, in shape guy who's a scientist. He meets this girl, and like the second time we see them talking, she's weeping. And he's like, I love you. I love you too, baby. And then
But they've never seen each other, right?
Never.
They just talk.
Never.
Yeah,
and they're like weeping, right? And then all of a sudden he proposes to her through the fucking glass.
That's going to last.
And so this show ends with, like all of them start pairing off like, hey, you want to get married?
Yeah.
I quoted a Bible verse and she's like, fuck yeah. Right? And that's the show. What pisses me the fuck off is that I think this is a pretty good concept.
Yeah.
But what you need is a guy who looks like he goes to Insane Clown Posse concerts, but talks like Dr. Fraser Crane.
Yeah.
That's what you fucking
You just
need.
get Marilyn Manson on there.
Have you
ever heard him talk? He's like super eloquent and like well spoken.
Yeah, he's a smart guy.
And then you like pull it out and he's like, "We're all stars."
Yeah.
You're like, "Oh shit."
He looks like
people.
He looks like what a smart person would scrape off their shoe.
And then
with a
you
stick.
could use that song for the theme.
Yeah.
The beautiful people. The beautiful people.
But that's what pisses me off. It's essentially what real life is that inevitably 6s and 7s like that will marry each other because they think they're 9s.
What are you?
And have me?
Yeah, what do you see yourself?
Oh, I'm a 5.
Yeah,
I'm
a high 5 though.
I would say this. If you had caught me in like 25, I was pretty buff.
2005.
25 years old.
Oh,
right?
at 25.
10 years ago, right? So 2009, I was pretty buff, right? I was pretty good looking. I wasn't this mangy wreck of a man that I am.
Yeah,
now.
well.
But now I'm old and injured and curmudgeon-y and, hairy and fat. And so, yeah, I'm a 5 now. But I think I was a 7 at one point. Like, my ceiling was a 7.
I peaked around a high 7 or a low 8.
Because I never made money off my look, so I can't be an 8. That's science.
Once we get this, like, real Kent Murphy money, we're both, like, we're 8s.
I mean, if we sell any of our Kent Murphy movies or TV shows, we're immediately 8s.
8s.
Yeah, 8s.
And
right?
if they're good, 9s.
Yeah. I mean, people line up for the chance to try to fuck Post Malone.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I saw Pauly Shore, like, get laid after a show one time.
Yeah.
After a comedy show.
And that's just a
I didn't,
fact
like,
of
watch
science.
him get laid, but
Yeah.
he left with
Right.
a woman from the crowd,
Yeah.
which I assumed
Yeah,
laid him.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But if you have...
I don't wanna watch
if you have
Pauly
a
Shore
face
get laid.
tattoo, right? If you have a face tattoo, your ceiling is a 4. Without
Unless
any
you're
other,
Post Malone.
Exactly. Without any other qualifiers, you're a 4. Post Malone is so beloved and so rich, he becomes an 8.
Yeah.
Right? That's
He's
the
a 9,
power of
probably.
fame. Get the
He's
fuck
pretty
outta here.
He's pretty famous.
No. Like Billie
Like
Eilish
that level
could be
of
a 9 or 10
no.
if she stops dressing like Adam Sandler.
Billie
We don't
Eilish
know.
is still a 6 ceiling.
She's got mad talent. She's rich as fuck. She's got trophies everywhere. Trust me, if she dressed not like Adam Sandler, this could totally rewrite the equation. We don't know.
As soon as she didn't even know who Eminem was at the Grammy.
So what?
Yeah, well, or at the Oscars. So
Have you ever met anyone
don't know
in
who
the
Eminem-
last year or so that is really into Eminem?
I didn't say she had to be really into him. You just have to know who they are.
Why? It doesn't matter.
How
to me if
are
people-
you in the music industry and you don't know who Eminem is?
I mean, come on. Are we talking about Eminem like he's gonna go down like Queen and Led Zeppelin? No, he's like a guy who
he'll be in the
wrote
Rock and
about
Roll
like.
Hall of Fame.
I mean, that's not an exclusive
First ballot
fucking
for
club.
sure. No, I'm just saying.
Every
like,
year they do that show and they induct 15 people I've
he's
never
the
heard
top
of.
in his genre for sure.
I mean, yeah, okay.
Or among the top. I don't know if he's the top.
That's fine,
He's
but
among the top.
I don't think Eminem is like a massive cultural
But
touchstone.
I'm not making the point of whether he's like the greatest of all time. I'm just saying, like, if you're in the music industry, you should know who Eminem is.
Okay.
And like, she should probably know.
Maybe.
Like, I would assume most people would know who like Queen is.
Yeah,
or
but what's the value?
I'm not
of
saying
just
you have to like
knowing?
love Bruce Springsteen, but if you're making music, you
right.
probably know who he is.
I mean, I don't know who else does.
I love Bruce.
I
I
don't
love
know
the boss.
any other like famous YouTube people. We do that shit.
Logan
I don't
Paul.
know. I love how I just lumped myself in as a
PewDiePie.
YouTube famous person. But this is what fucking bothers me about this show. Is again, you need someone that when that door opens, you get the fucking 1930s to 40s like universal monster reaction of. Like, I want that shot. I want someone to open the door and go, oh my God.
Yeah, but then you're a 10. If that happens, you're a 10.
No. I want them to be appalled
Oh,
at what
appalled.
they see.
I thought you were saying like.
See,
okay.
that's why I'm not YouTube famous. My
Okay.
acting is bad. You thought I was excited. That's supposed to be.
No, I thought it was like when Brad Pitt walks in, they're like, holy shit, it's Brad Pitt. Like,
Yeah, but that's not. I don't want to see, hey, here's a 6 who has,
So you want to be like the Elephant Man walking into a room.
Yes, absolutely. Because they keep saying, and this is what pisses me off about the show. They do this thing where this is an experiment that's never been tried. And I was like, are you fucking kidding? You think anyone's
every day.
Yeah, anyone's picture on Tinder is what they really look like? Like, fuck off.
No.
And they keep making it like it's this
Made that
grand, like,
mistake.
Keynesian sexual experiment. And you're like, if you really want to know, if you open the door and it's just a guy who is employed, doesn't look like a fucking freak of some kind, and can speak words, that's not interesting to me, right? There are all kinds of people that eventually just find someone.
Yeah.
Right? I want to know, like, like an example, right? Like the character Jabba the Hutt, right? I don't know what the human equivalent of that is, right? But I remember seeing a Jerry Springer show when I was young, and it's when I was like, this is the best show ever. There's this guy, right? This really little scrawny guy. He looked like Spike Dudley from the WWE, right? And he's sitting there and he's like, I just had this fetish, man. I love women, big women. I like to watch them eat.
Yeah.
I like when they get the food on themselves. And he's just going
Hell
in,
yeah.
right? He has like a fucking huge lady eating at a trough fetish.
Yeah.
Fine. Next thing you know, they have these PAs roll in this gargantuan woman, like a 400 to 600 pound woman, smothered in Salisbury steak gravy. And he just goes, oh my sweet Jesus. And like dives on her and starts licking it off. And I was like, that's Love is Blind. That's the Love is Blind I want to watch, right? Let's say you talk and you're like, oh my God, this lady, like the voice of Oprah, the fucking, depth of personality of like a Maya Angelou. but they have to roll her in covered in Salisbury steak. Do you still want to get married and smash?
Hell yeah.
I think that's important.
I forgot to tell you that. I can't believe I forgot this. Speaking of weird, crazy shit like that, a couple weeks ago I met Chucky up at the bar. We watched a Pacers game, and like we're sitting there, like right before the game started, and the server comes over and she's like, "Look at this couple over here." I'm like, "What?" And it was the woman was acting like a baby because
Wait, what?
Yeah, like he likes it when she acts like a baby, and they just do it in public. They're just so she was like, "Wah," and like stuff like that, and like while he was playing pool, and he was like, he would turn around and be like, "Calm down," and shit like that, like stuff a father would say to him.
He'd turn around and shake her, and they'd be like, "No, we gotta go."
And it blew my mind, man. I was like, I've seen it in like documentaries, but like I've never seen it up close and personal.
As a man who spends a lot of time in the darkest corners of the internet, I've seen this, but normally it's the man acting like a baby.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Because what it is it's the reversal of power.
Yeah, it's the reversal.
And then when the guy acts bad, the lady can like pop her tits in, and he's like, suckling.
Yeah.
Right? The weird thing is they even take it to the extremes of like diaper changing a lot, which is weird.
Oh, yeah.
I've never heard of the lady being the baby.
Yeah.
So I
saw it firsthand.
This man's sexual fetish is to be a single father who wants to go play pool and drink at a bar.
And fuck his kid.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But life is scary.
one of my favorite takes.
Jesus Christ! You just saw that in public?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like when they left, did he put her in a stroller?
I didn't see that much. I don't know. I didn't see a stroller on the premises.
Right.
So I can't confirm or deny that. But
underneath his flannel shirt, he had one of those papooses.
But it's like like I don't know. Dating shows in general are stupid because it's like. I hate when people talk. Tommy Johnigan has one of my favorite takes on love because like people always say, like it's my one soulmate, and he's like I don't believe in there's just one person for everybody. He's like, oh, there's one person for everybody. Hope they live close. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, that's fine. Hope mine's not in Egypt. You know what I mean.
Oh, my one and only's in Bangladesh. Good luck.
It's the dumbest notion in the world. We'd all just be sitting here with our thumbs up our asses.
Well, people say that because it keeps us from getting divorces. Because if you're with anyone long enough, you know all the bad shit about them.
Yeah.
And if you're telling me right now, my wife, who loves me dearly, or so she claims.
Allegedly.
And, like, we've been together for a long time, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're telling me that there probably aren't 100 guys within, like, a short car ride that she would probably enjoy spending a Saturday with more than me at this point, I would find that to be a lie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just
you
not
just have
possible.
to be able to know that and accept it.
Yeah, you have to embrace that, right? Because there's
and then just work on being a better version of you, and you're fine.
I'm not 25-year-old Josh Griffey anymore, right? I'm diminished returns, right? Like there has.
There's like a quote. I can't remember who said it, but he was just like, he's like, nobody's actually an asshole, the only people that are actually assholes are the people that don't try to make themselves better. That's the only people that are truly assholes in the world.
See, that's the TopGolf guy, right? Like, I'm just going to fucking dominate right now. I do not have the ability to look within myself, right? But I don't know. What I don't like about... Because imagine if that show came out and all of a sudden you see... Like, do you ever see that movie Freaks? It's a movie from 1931, if I remember right.
No, I
by
definitely
director
did.
Todd Browning,
If it's in black and white, I don't watch it.
Oh, it's fucking fascinating. It's one of my favorite movies, right? Because it takes place at this
Unless
carnival.
it's Raging Bull.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But it takes place at this carnival, right? And there's this very small little man, I don't know if he has dwarfism or what, who runs the circus, right? And his name is Hans. And he has a little person that, like, he's in love with.
Sure.
But he wants to fuck one of, like, the performers, right? The freaks. And I don't even remember what her freakish talent is, but she just looks like a hot lady.
Yeah.
So she starts trying to seduce him. She's banging the strong man on the side, and they're going to bilk this German guy out of his money as she's poisoning him to death. Well, once it comes out, right, he's like, I want to marry you. And they're going to get married so she can, like, steal everything, right? And she starts poisoning him. Well, when they find out that she's disrespecting the circus, right? And they had real circus performers, right? There's a guy who has a giant handlebar mustache.
Yeah.
No arms and legs, and they show him rolling and lighting his own cigarette. And you're like...
That's impressive as hell.
It's fucking unbelievable.
Yeah.
So they got real sideshow performers and people that were like misfits or outcasts and let them play roles. Well, the end of the movie is they disrespect like the circus life, which is supposed to be a safe haven for them. And all of these freaks are climbing through the mud to like murder them, right? Like people with the small heads, and it's fucking amazing.
A nightmare.
if you took that movie and you put the Love Is Blind house in the middle of that circus, that's what I
knew we
watch.
were going somewhere with this.
That's what I want to watch.
That's what you want to watch.
That's the thing. If the theory is,
I'd probably be into that too. Yeah.
We want, like, imagine, because there's one lady, right? Because they made it like it's a big deal. Like, the scientist guy proposes to this African American lady, right? And they're like, "Wow, look at that." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's cool." He didn't come out of the room looking like Edward Norton from American History X. You know what I mean? Like, there are deal breakers.
Yeah.
Right? And the show also is like, I don't need to know how good someone is at sex to marry them.
Yeah, you do.
Newsflash, you should.
You definitely should. I'd recommend it. Hey, guys, we got to get out of here on that note. As I said, we're heading down to Panama City. We will be down there Friday for the big softball tournament. If you're around, come check it out. And then I am heading straight to Arizona for spring training. We're going to do some wild and crazy stuff out there with some players and a bunch of guys. So it's going to be fun. We got a bunch more of the team previews coming your way. And again, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, give us a rating and review. We appreciate that. And we will maybe see you guys next week. It kind of depends on the setup when I get out to Arizona, but we're going to try. Otherwise, we'll see you the week after. Thanks. Bye.